Well, Fruit Basket. The 2001 iteration was a specific anime that I thought I would never really get into. But at the end of the day, I ended up getting into it. And so after watching that, I decided to go right into Fruit Basket, the 2019 version. Just like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and just like Hellsing Ultimate, they followed the books. Fruits Basket 2019 does the exact same thing with new upgrades to it, of course.
Hello?
Oh, I'm just, um, yeah, as you know, I am actually in the world of Fruits Basket 2019. I just decided to come and talk to Toru about how I thought about the show. I also promised Clone Number One that I would bring him along, so he's off doing something.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways, well, Toro, are you ready for me to review your show?
Okay, you're wrong, but I'm not gonna dry your eyes when you lose. Got it, gangster girl?
Whoever comes in last has to do everyone else's cleaning duty.
Cozy.
So the plot pretty much follows how the previous iteration did. Pretty much a remake, but this iteration follows the manga, just like I said earlier. It follows the same pattern, but there are some differences with the plot and what the characters end up going through. While the first iteration was more of a comedic version, this has humor at points, but more of a serious tone than the previous one. Now, between the two versions, which versions do I think did it better? Well, to be honest, I feel like the plot in this is conclusive. While the other version adapted most of the book or parts of it, it never really continued and it just left you wondering, well, is there anything else? But with this plot, it is fully fleshed out, more character development, and has a conclusion which is great. And I do think the story here is more impactful in the remake. And the soundtrack in here is actually pretty good for what it is, while I did mind the first iteration soundtrack, like the opening or at least the ending. The ending one I actually really liked. But in here, the opening and endings are kind of like, your typical anime opening and endings compared to how the original one was. But the opening and endings in here are okay at best. I do like the first ending of season 1 at least. But yeah, overall the first season pretty much adapts the entire story from the first iteration, but then season 2 and season 3 continues to adapt the rest of the books. So season 1 is the only one you would compare between the first iteration of Fruits Basket, the 2001 version. You put them side by side, they do adapt it really well. There's just some differences. Now for the animation, of course, the animation is a lot better than the first version. I mean, don't get me wrong, for the time of the early 2000s anime, the art style was pretty much adapted from the author's drawings at that time. But this is more of an updated in detail and quality, even though the original is not bad for the time or the animation. But the quality here is very nice and it's colorful. It's also beautiful and the scenery too. Nice character designs as well. I do like it. Now, like the original, of course, there's not a lot of action. It's more of a serious slice of life drama romance. When they do have action scenes, at least only a few points, not a lot. They're actually pretty good.
Oh, hey! Can I get you something?
Oh no, Tori, you don't have to offer me anything. I'm just being honest about my review. Just let me continue and then you could decide whether you like it or not, and then maybe I'll accept some tea from it. Now by this point, if you had watched the first version, you know the characters, but there are new characters that pop up that we never got in the original iteration, and we get to see their struggles and what they're doing behind the scenes. Yuki and Kaio have a lot more depth to them than in the first iteration. Kaio did have depth to him in the first version, but Yuki is fleshed out a lot more in this remake. And Kaio gets even more backstory. Shiguru, on the other hand, has a different role compared to his comedic side in the first iteration. He schemes and is very sinister, so that's a very different twist in his character than in the first. But then again, this does follow the books. So this is how the author wrote his character. Toru is the same, except of course more backstory of her mom and what she goes through. Of course, characters from the first iteration do make their return, and they also have a lot more backstory backstory to their character and their past, and there are changes between the two versions. And this is what's different about the remake. Since it follows the books, you get a lot of more fleshed out backstory of these characters that the original did not. Moniji in the first iteration, he talked regularly, well, like in the dub, but in this version, he's actually half German. So he has a German accent or dialect. Man, anime, what is it with anime and references to Germans? I mean, Attack on Titan, Black Lagoon, Hellsing, even the original Fullmetal Alchemist. All in all, most characters are the same, but they have some differences between the versions, and I think the remake actually does a better job with their characters. Heck, even Honda's friends have more depth to them than in the first iteration, and their backstories were really good episodes. They were intriguing. I liked it. However, there is one issue I have with one of the characters, and it's one of Honda's friends. Ariza? I think that's how I say it. Tora, what's her name? How did I say it right? She has this crush, and it's like a really fast crush. Or falls in love. I guess you want to say fall in love or just a crush? I don't know. It was too fast. Or it felt, at least to me, it felt fast. With a specific character that is important to the show, but felt like it was rushed. Where she just, I guess, falls in love. I don't know. That part was a kind of like, what? Either it's just a big crush she has with this character or finds them charming. I guess. I just think it was way too fast. And I just felt that it was kind of odd. And on top of that, there was like this big age gap between the two. So yeah, it made me kind of feel about it. So yeah, I felt like that was a bit of an issue when it came to season 2 of the show. And that was my one gripe I had with it. But other than that though, you will enjoy most of the characters in this remake in season 2. Even though that one still griped me a little bit. I still enjoyed watching it. Even new characters that never showed up in the first iteration are interesting. And Akito, well, let's just say that character has a bigger role and is very different from the first iteration, if you know what I mean.
Will you quit screwing around and tell us what the heck you're doing here?
Now, hold on. Don't kick me out. I'm still reviewing. Don't you want me to finish reviewing your show? Now, for my enjoyment aspect, I really enjoyed this show. This slice of life anime. A remake of the first show, aka the manga. This was technically the series as a whole. My first slice of life anime that I actually enjoyed, even though I'm not really crazy about slice of life anime. The remake, oh my gosh, it was really enjoyable. Every moment of the characters' interactions, their struggles. There was a lot of other issues going on besides the whole romance or slice of life. But I gotta say, there was a lot of crying. You know, just a lot of crying. Now, hold on, Toro. Don't cry in front of me, please. But I think what makes the remake, or the Brotherhood version, I would like to say, than the first iteration is that the characters have more depth, and of course it follows the rest of the manga. It wraps up and concludes nicely. The 2001 iteration just ends. This, I was very intrigued to see how all these characters will end up in the final episode. And this is just, yes, this is the better version, or I would say the definitive version to watch. Heck, you could actually just watch this and not really miss anything with the first iteration, because technically it is pretty much a big adaptation of that first iteration, but it follows the books more thoroughly in season 1 and first iteration, but it follows the books more thoroughly from season 1 to season 3. Well, the first iteration is good for the time it was released. It never felt concluded, so I had a bit of an issue with that, but it was still fun. This does have a full conclusion of these beloved characters that you liked. Now, I will mention that sometimes I feel like Toro has moments where I feel that it may be a little too much of this kind of Mary Sue-ish vibe, as she is able to impact pretty much everybody's life. However, you know, then again, she's a very kind-hearted person who tries to view everything in a positive light, and that's what makes her character special. In that regard, even though she's able to impact an entire family, she's also been struggling with the loss of both her dad and her mom. But she's able to change everybody's life for the better. And of course, Laura Bailey did a good job, though I will say she did a different tone with her character in this one. Everybody else, though, was also great. Yes, Toro, you did really well. So after I had concluded with the first iteration and jumped into this, yes, I can say that this is the better version to watch. It was done very well. The pacing was well done. Compared to Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, where they rushed the beginning portions of the characters and plot points. But for Hellsing, it was just that one episode. But pretty much after that, I feel like it calmed down, and episode 2 and onward was pretty well paced. It's kind of like, for example, Hunter x Hunter. It slowly paced its time with the characters, which was nice. The Hunter x Hunter 2011 and Fruits Basket 2019 remake are probably the best adaptation of a manga you can get close to, Brotherhood and Hellsing Ultimate. To adapt the books, but when they do adapt the books, they do tend to cut out or change some things. Brotherhood definitely did that. Hellsing sort of did the changes, some, but not to the point where it's, they got rid of stuff. No, they didn't get rid of really nothing. It's just they sort of rushed some things, but still great. But yeah, I gotta say, this is a very, very fun show. Well, sad at the same time, but yeah, the best version, and it's very great. And yeah, I gotta say, it's a very great show. But that doesn't mean I'm going to leave out cons. Because to be real, there are some issues, like I mentioned with one of the characters, and there's also just a lot of crazy oddness and weird relationships and stuff that happen in the show, and their characters just kind of messed up with this family, if you ask me. And I'm sure there's things in here that people might notice that they have a big con with. Well, it's not the worst con, but I would say the issue was Honda's friend making a quick crush. It was almost like this quick love at first sight sort of deal. And that's not how it works unless she just saw something in him. I don't know. I felt like that was my issue.
Yes, but why should we trouble our dear friends with such menial errands when you can play fetch for us instead?
I'm not a dog.
Move it, carrots.
Guys.
Well, it's Fruits Basket 2019. I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm going to say it is a great adaptation. Slow paced, takes its time, probably one of the best adaptations of a manga with a nice smooth pacing. The characters that you loved from the first iteration are here. New characters are here. Their struggles are here. Some stuff that they didn't show in the first iteration is added in. This is the definitive way to watch Fruits Basket. I'm not saying that the first iteration is bad. It was good for the time. And heck, I have my own copy of it, but the remake just seems to have a lot of better depth to it. And that's why I liked it. I am just as surprised that I got into this sort of slice of life romance sort of anime. I never thought I would get into it, but the way it was done, the way the story was done was well crafted. Even though I have some cons, there's a few cons, but other than that, yes, it is a great adaptation. And if you like this sort of thing, I would definitely check it out. Well, Toro, did you like my review?
That is so impressive.
I'm glad you like it, Toro, but come on, why don't you guys like it? Fine, I'll just leave. But have you guys seen my clone number 1?
Wait. What was I saying again?